Hello, everyone,
Hello, Pilipinas.
and hello, world. My name is Marga,
And I am Jojo.
and
And
we
we
are
are
the
the
Mahilan
Mahilan siblings.
siblings. Welcome to TerpTalks, conversations with sign language interpreters.
We are your hosts for today's episode. And we would also like to introduce our interpreters, Sir Bai and Miss Casey. Hi,
Hi,
Sir
Sir Bye.
Bai.
Hi,
Hi,
KZ.
Casey. So, Miss Casey will be interpreting for us during this first segment for the host. And later, during our interview, Sir Bai will be interpreting for our guests. So, I'd like to say goodbye for now, Sir Bai. Thank you so much, Sir Bai. We'll see you again later. So, Ate, do you remember just a few weeks ago
Mhm.
where we're in front of this camera and
Yes.
we're actually one of the guests of TerpTalks?
Yes.
And wow, so now we're actually hosting this episode.
Yes.
What's so special about this episode anyway?
Okay. The last time that we had our we are the guests here.
Yes.
We are the Filipino coders, and we discussed right about the topics or issues or
Hmm.
controversies or our experiences as Filipino coders.
Yes.
And for today's episode, Jojo, is extra special.
Why?
You know why?
Why?
Because we are going to converse with coders across the globe.
Across the globe.
Yes, across the globe.
So Terp Talks is going global now.
Yes.
Wow. Imagine on its seventh episode, we are going global.
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's so amazing.
But before we get too excited, let's have first a check in with our viewers. We have
I
around
think we have around 30 viewers now.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
hello
Thank you for
everyone.
joining
Thank you for
us.
joining us. Please do share this Facebook Live to your friends, or you can also host a watch party.
Also, please comment where you are watching from.
Mhm.
Or if you already had your coffee, actually, I have my coffee here with me. Or since we're going global, tell us if you already had your breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So I guess right now we can actually read some of the comments from our viewers. If you can flash them on the screen, we have Francis Francis Pagaduan watching here from Boston,
Wow.
Davao Oriental, and I'm from LDEF and FSL Treasury. Thank you for tuning in,
Hi,
Francis. Hi, Francis.
Francis.
And from Charlon Hamero, good morning, everyone, watching from General Santos City, Mindanao, Philippines. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank
And also, we
you.
have another one from Giselle Sanchez. Giselle says, hello, I'm deaf, and I'm watching here
From
from
all the way
Bicol.
from Bicol.
Wow.
Wow,
Thank you so
wow.
much for
Thank you so
joining
much for
us.
joining us.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Mike Macmillian says, mabuti po kayo, and we're all good. Thank you for tuning in, Mike.
Thank you for
Thank you so
tuning
much.
in. Thank you. Okay, so why are we doing this online show?
Well,
Why are we doing
Ate,
this?
this online talk show is actually hosted by the Philippine National Association of Sign Language Interpreters. And this talk show aims to give a platform to our interpreters
Mm-mm.
so that they will be heard by every sector in the society, not
Wow.
just the deaf, not
Mm-mm.
just the hearing community, not
Mm-mm.
just the interpreting community, but every
Mm-mm.
sector of the community.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Actually, we actually had already conversations with new sign language interpreters.
Yes, and you're part of that.
Yes, that was episode 2. So you can tune back and watch if you want to watch that. And also, we also had conversations with interpreters from Visayas and
Oh,
Mindanao. So
wow.
that's really amazing.
And because you mentioned about that, actually last week we just had our conversations with the interpreters in the religious setting. So, Jo, what was your takeaway during that episode? Especially you are also working closely with our parents in the church, right?
Yes. Well, one of the most striking things for me during that episode was with what Ma'am Aisel mentioned
Mm-mm.
regarding what we are sharing, the message that what we are sharing. We are sharing the message of God. And it's important that we make sure we are clear to our deaf community.
Mm-mm.
And of course, it's very dear to my heart because both of us, we started in church
Yes.
interpreting.
Yes.
So
That was our first job, no?
yes, yes. So that's really important that you prepare for it make sure you have your non-manual signs or your facial expressions
Mm-mm.
ready
Sure.
so that the deaf community would actually understand God's word and that they will be
Mm-mm.
blessed by God's word.
Mm-mm.
How about you, Ate?
You know what, Joe? Based on what you shared, that I remember that connection is the key. No, that's number one. Connection with God, because you're going to relay. No, you're going to interpret God's word to the deaf community, and connection also with the deaf community, right?
Exactly.
So with me, I think my main takeaway was humility. Humility is the key.
Wow.
No, you know, according to Sir Ouch, and I quote. Let me read this. Okay, mahalin mo ang trabaho mo. Love the deaf, love the language, embrace the language and the culture of the deaf because it is evolving. And I agree with that. No, I agree that it is evolving, it is changing, and change is
Coming.
no.
Sorry, tapos na pala yan. That's already done. Change is the only constant thing in
Yes,
this world.
change is the only constant thing in this world. No, and as interpreters, we should not be in the spotlight because we are doing this for the greater glory of God.
Amen.
Amen. And that is humility. Doing all the work, not for ourselves, but for the greater glory of God. And when you talk about greater glory, of God, that is sharing God's word, his word, no? Meaning, when you sign, God is already using you as his instrument to the deaf community. Wow.
That's wonderful. That's really amazing,
Wow.
Ate. And that's really so many to process.
Mm-mm.
But Ate, I'm just really excited for this episode.
Yes,
So
I am.
Ate, are you ready to dig in?
Wait, Joe, when you talk about digging in, of course, where's the food? When you talk about good conversations, where's the coffee, the pandesal, the bread?
Ate, I know someone who can answer that question. I think the president of Pinasli is able to answer that question, and she is here with us to give us a few words. And Miss Natty, while you're giving us a few words, can you answer our question? Where's our
Where's our
food?
food, Miss Natty? Let us now give, my dear friends, a warm virtual deaf applause to Miss Natty Natividad.
Good morning. Joe, where's your address? I'm gonna grab deliver na later.
Sure, sure. I'll give it to you later, Miss Natty.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So this is our seventh episode. Who would have think we would reach this far, huh? And this episode is special. Well, every episode is special. It's just that for Terp Talks, we're opening ourselves to the world. Sabi nga, hello world. And I'm so happy, and I can't contain my happiness. If I have one sign for this, I'm like so kilig. I'm so giddy about it, so giddy, kilig about what we're gonna do this morning. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank Jo and Margo for accepting our invitation to host. Can you see their heart and passion in doing this? I'm
Thank
thinking
you.
of
Thank
doing a
you, Miss
show just for
Natty.
you two. So I'm already making this creative team where we can have another talk show na just for the codas, because I think 2 hours for Terp Talks is not enough. Would you agree?
Yes.
But I'd also like to thank our interpreters, Skizy and Bai. So they've been host for the past episodes. Now they are now the interpreters, and thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, so we are from the Philippine National Association of Sign Language Interpreters. So we are around for 9 years already, and next year will be the 10th year. So it's going to be a big celebration. Hopefully, we'll launch that show. We'll launch a program. Many good things, beautiful things we are expecting for the next year and future years to come. So yeah, we are a group of interpreters from the Philippines, and we have made some conferences in the past, workshops, but now it's the pandemic, so we can't do our conference. So last year we were in Bohol. I've met
Yeah.
Jojo there for the first time in Bohol, and
Yes,
we
yes.
enjoyed the. Did you enjoy the tarsiers and the beaches of
Actually, I was not
Bohol?
able to go to the tour. Sorry, Miss Natty.
Me too.
Sayang.
We were so busy doing the conference. So yeah, we expect hopefully when we are out of our prison cells, we would go to Mindanao. I so look forward to having Pinasi conference in Mindanao. So we have our
Right.
friends from Mindanao, Matis. Shout out to all the interpreters in Mindanao and the Visayas as well. So yes, so but in the meantime that we can go there, we have Terp Talks. We have this platform wherein we can listen and engage with each other. So we have had guests from all over the country now. So we have Visayas and Mindanao, as what you've said. But today we're opening ourselves to the world. So yeah, be excited, and I'm so looking forward to what our guests are able to share to us and inspire to us. One thing I just would like to say is, the pandemic has caused us, so many sad stories, the stories of anxiety, depression, not sure of the world, just, stories that really breaks our heart. But at the same time, the pandemic has taught us a lot of lessons. And one lesson that I think I can take from this pandemic, we share humanity, our shared humanity. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter if it's a rich country or a poor country, first world, third world, we all share that humanity. Our lives is just too short. What matters most is our relationships, our family, our
True.
friends, getting connected, being able to come together and help do some works of heroism and bravery despite this pandemic. And we all, not just survive. Let this pandemic be something that we learn from. So this will come,
Exactly.
it will be in the history books. So make sure you save those ID pass, the quarantine pass. It will be historical.
Yes.
It will be the archives of some museum. Yes. So instead of surviving, let this be an opportunity for us to thrive. And as interpreters, it's just been an amazing journey during this pandemic, having news interpreters every day. Because it's been like 20 years we've been fighting for that. Hey,
True.
the big
Mm.
networks, can you give interpreters for that? No, we can't do it. It's just so difficult. The technicals, all those excuses. But with the pandemic, it's just a group of people who said yes, let's do this. Let's have our news on Facebook. Let's do give
Mm-mm.
access to the healthcare access of the deaf. Let's give
True.
news access. Let's give community access. And look where we are now. We're like, then this is the new normal. This is the new normal.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, I so look forward to what interpreters in the Philippines could still evolve coming out from this pandemic, with our Filipino Sign Language law in place, with the deaf community working hand in hand with them. We still have many things to do, and this is just the beginning. And I'm so
Yes,
proud
Miss Natty.
of everyone here in Terp Talks, and I cannot contain my heart right now with joy and overflowing kilig. So yeah, enough of my talking. I just want you to listen to our guests, and they have so many things to offer to you and inspire everyone. So, viewers, netizens, Terp Talks, followers, enjoy Terp Talks episode 6 and your address. I'll send something.
Okay, Miss Natty. I'll
Yay.
send you. I'll send you.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss
Thank
Enjoy,
you,
Natty.
Miss Natty. Thank
everyone.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Miss Natty. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. But in this pandemic, it's not
Mm-mm.
about surviving, but it's about
Yes.
thriving. And we
Mm-mm.
see the good in what our situation is holding for
Mm-mm.
us.
True.
And right now, I'm just really excited. Ate, are you ready?
I am ready. How
Ate,
about you?
I have my coffee.
Okay. I have my pandesal here.
But before we proceed, Ate, let's check in first with our viewers. No, we already have 48 viewers, and we thank you so much
Wow.
once again
Thank you very
for
much.
tuning in this Terp Talks. We are really really excited for this episode, and probably you can just entertain two more comments. If you
Mm-hmm.
could read two more comments,
So
from
from
Rose
Rose
Ann.
Ann, good morning, everyone. Congrats, Pinasli, on your seventh episode.
Thank
Wow.
you, Ma'am Rose
Hi,
Ann.
Ma'am Rose Ann.
And also looking
From
forward from Charlem again, looking forward for a conference in Benanao. We are also looking
yes,
forward for that.
you're excited
Thank
for
you so
that. Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Another one from Dave
Good
said, "Good
morning,
morning,
everyone.
everyone. Watching from
Mati, Davao Oriental.
wow. We
Wow,
have a lot
thank
of
you.
friends from the
Thank
Mindanao.
you for tuning in with us.
Thank you for tuning in with us. And you may also type in your questions for our guest this morning. Our creative team and tech team will surely take note of that. And we'll take note of your comments or your questions as well. Okay. So, guys, are you ready?
Ready?
How about you, Joe? Are you
I'm
ready?
ready. I'm ready. I have my coffee. I'm ready.
Yes. Okay. So, imagine, Joe, we usually converse with our deaf friends and our co-deaf friends
Yes.
through chat, or emails,
Yes,
right?
email most of the time.
And now we are going to meet our Coda friends via Facebook Live.
What a very nice platform, right,
Thank
Ate?
you, Pinasli. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Pinasli,
Pinasly,
for
for this
doing this.
platform. Thank you so much. So, guys, we want you to sit back, relax, and now we're going to start our conversations with Kodas across the globe.
Okay, so our first guest is involved with sign language interpreting in various settings in Malaysia: legal, education, human rights, medical, government meetings such as the local, national, regional, and international level. Wow. Wow,
Wow.
Jo. Woo! She's currently a full time sign language interpreter with the Malaysian Federation of the Deaf and the vice president of Malaysian Association of Sign Language Interpreters. Friends, let us welcome from Malaysia, truly Asia. Let us give a virtual deaf applause to Go Su Lin. Hi, Go!
Hi,
Apa
everyone.
kabar hari ini? How are you today?
Very
I hope I
good.
pronounced it right.
Perfectly.
Have you have you eaten your breakfast now?
Yes, I did.
Good. Go, can you introduce yourself and your sign name so that our viewers will be able to get to know more about you?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Go Su Ling. So my sign name is this.
Go Suling. Okay.
Yes.
Go, can you teach us how to sign and speak good morning in Malaysian Sign Language?
Okay.
Is it
In
Malaysian
Malaysia,
Sign
we
Language or
say
Bahasa?
Bahasa. We speak Bahasa Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's like Bahasa Malaysia. So good morning is spoken as Selamat pagi.
Salamat
Salamat pagi.
pagi. Salamat pagi. So are you going to sign
Selamat
that?
pagi.
Salamat
Pagi.
pagi.
But yeah, I think the
Salamat
morning will be
pagi.
almost the same as
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Malaysia.
And in Filipino, for us Filipinos, okay, the salamat word is thank you. Maraming salamat means thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Salamat po.
Salamat
Salamat po.
po.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so go. Let's start. Okay. Can you share with us like your experiences growing up with deaf parents? Share with
Okay,
our viewers, or how many siblings do you have? Are they also working in the interpreting field?
okay. I'm here. I was born in Kuala Lumpur, so I grew up in the big city. I'm the eldest of three. I have a younger sister and a younger brother, but unfortunately, they are not in this line of work. My sister, she's a salesperson, and my brother, he's doing freelance. He's currently doing baking. Yeah, because of the pandemic, he actually changed his career, so he's selling a lot of cakes, jelly cakes, foods. um I guess maybe our experience or my experience growing up as a coda, I didn't know about coda, nothing about coda. I did not really actually grow in a deaf community because my mom, she's not educated. Basically, she did not attend any schools. But my father did until the age of 12, I think. But then he stopped his education. Um, but he did involve once in a while in the deaf, programs, deaf activities. But I was never even brought to all these activities, so I didn't know anything about deaf organizations or other codas. So basically, growing up is maybe mine is a bit difficult because I think I was shame. I was shy in a way that I do not want people
Mm.
to know about my deaf parents. I did not want my friends to
Mm.
know that, oh, you got deaf parents, but mine, they can speak, they can communicate, but mine can't. So basically, I'm very shy, and I like to stay at
Mm.
home. I prefer to stay at home instead of going out with my friends. So, but I just have to add one more thing. Um, in my family, there are five deaf family members. Beside my parents,
Oh,
I
Oh.
have two
wow.
uncles who are deaf. I have a late
Mm-mm.
auntie who is deaf. She passed away a few years back, and I have a cousin sister who is hard of hearing.
Wow.
Oh,
So basically, whenever
wow.
there are celebration within the families, so whenever we are together in a dinner and anything, I prefer to sit with my deaf family members instead of the hearing family
Mm-mm.
members. Because
Mhm.
we can
Yeah,
communicate in sign language, and they can I can learn
true,
how
Yes.
to speak in sign language, and it's more peaceful. I feel happy
true,
together with them.
Yeah,
true, true,
I think the
true.
same thing, no, ate.
Mm-mm.
When we're also with our parents going out,
Yeah.
we usually go with the group of the deaf friends that they have because I think it's similar experience with
With
you.
you. And you mentioned about at first you were shy, you want just to stay at home and don't want to share this with your friends that you have family members who are deaf. Now, let me ask you about this because based on your bio, you were you are now part of the Malaysian Association of Sign Language Interpreters and you are the vice president. So, can you share to us what was the what do you call that, so
What
the
do you
turning
usually do?
moment, or what do you usually do, no with the Malaysian Association of Sign Language Interpreters?
Okay. I was at home. Okay, the story started when I was at home. I was listening to radio, and the local organization, the Kuala Lumpur Society of the Deaf, they have classes, sign language classes, and I was thought, I think what will be the difference that signing that I'm using at home and the signing that used in the
Yeah,
organization. So basically, I signed up for the class, so I get to know about a larger part of the deaf community in Kuala Lumpur, and I started became the volunteers, and then I say, okay, I'm going to start working for them. I started as part timers, and then I became full timers after a few years. So one of my colleagues actually went to Washington to attend a Deaf Way at these festivals. I forgot the name of the program. She bring back a book, a magazine, and there's a story about Coda. So I'm like,
Oh.
oh,
wow. So like, okay, because the story that was told was similar to mine. So I'm like, okay.
oh.
So I started to know about Coda when I start working with the organization, and like right now, I was like, no, I would tell people, hey, my parents are deaf. I'm using sign language in the public. I'm no longer that kind of a shy person that I was
Mm.
used to, but no, now I'm more open.
That's really,
Wow.
I'm having goosebumps right
Yes,
now.
right now look at my
I mean,
Woo,
that's really inspiring.
woo.
I mean, you know, coming out of
Mm-mm.
a shell,
Yeah.
and it's really makes me proud to be a coda. And I'm sorry, I'm tearing up, and that's really something.
Yes. And when you heard about stories about codas, we found this community, before, like what I have mentioned before during our episode with the Filipino deaf, before I don't know where to go. Am I going to the deaf community or the hearing community? And now we found our identity. We have this group of people, no, right? That we can connect with, share our stories with, and we agree with our
Yes.
stories.
Yes.
Wow, thank you so much, Go. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I hope that we will hear more about your stories later. So please stay on the line. Maybe you can take your coffee first
Coffee.
or your
Yeah,
tea,
just
water,
water.
and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Go, for that wonderful share. I'm just really,
Mm-mm.
I'm really inspired by what she just mentioned on coming
Mm-mm.
out of the shell when she found out that she has similar stories.
Mm-mm.
Then she started becoming an advocate for sign
Mm-mm.
language, and that's really something that's really
And imagine, she's now the vice president of a certain organization in Malaysia, which is to interpret not only for her parents, but as well in big events,
yes,
right?
exactly. Wow.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
guys, that's just the start. And
Woo.
now we're going to our next guest. And for our next guest, he has over 20 years of total work experience
Wow.
in the
20
field of
years.
special education, sign language research and training, and sign language interpreting. He has three diplomas in different fields: bachelor's in business administration, bachelor's in education, major in special education, and a diploma in sign language interpreting. And he also has a master's in linguistics. So this guy doesn't really want to study.
Yes, wow.
He has so many achievements in the academe. So guys, let us all give a warm welcome and deaf applause all the way from India. Amaresh Gopalakrishnan.
Hello, Amaresh.
Hi
Hi,
Amaresh, how are you
guys.
doing?
Very good, very good. I hope all of you are good during this pandemic situation.
Mhm.
Hope all of you are safe. Yeah. Good morning,
Go ahead
everyone.
and greet our viewers and
Good morning,
tell them
viewers.
your
Good
sign
morning to
name.
all the Philippine viewers, Philippine international, sign language interpreters and other deaf friends also are watching, maybe. And hopefully, some of the deaf parents are watching us. And
Yes.
my dad's coming right now. He's really excited to come and join us and watch
Wow,
us. So
that's
we're waiting
exciting.
for them to come. Yeah. So yeah. So hi
So thank
everyone,
you.
and hi Natty. Thank you for inviting me to this talk show, and it's been a pleasure. And yep, let's go
So
on.
Amaresh, I believe there's a time difference between Philippines and India, right? So what's the time there right now?
Right now the time is 7:56 in the morning.
Wow. So have you had your coffee? Or are you a coffee drinker?
I'm waiting for my dad to bring some.
Okay, that's nice. So how do you sign good morning in Indian Sign Language? Could you just teach us how?
We have different dialects, like in the north and in the south, we have different ways to sign good morning. But the general way, the way we do it is right now is good. This is a sign for good, and this is a sign for morning.
Morning. Okay.
Good morning.
So
Nice.
good
Thank you.
morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Yeah.
Amaresh. Well, Amaresh, like I have mentioned, you've been completely involved in sign language research, interpreting, and you have a lot of academic experience, over 20 years of experience as well. Can you share more on what you've been doing for the deaf community in India?
Well, initially I started off, working on the dictionary, Indian Sign Language Dictionary. It was way back in 1998. So that was the first professional work which I did in this field. Prior to that, I was just doing a lot of not even freelancing, just welfare work and things like that. Because the thing is, my father, Gopalakrishnan, he's been very involved, actively involved with the deaf community. So
Oh,
I've always been in the deaf community right from very early age. So me, my sister, my younger sister, so both of us, we always with our parents, we always with the deaf community and all that. So professionally, I started working in this field in 1998. So we had worked, my father and I, we had worked on this dictionary, with one of a very huge institute in India. So that's how my work started. So once we made the dictionary, the next step is to create a
mhm.
course. So
Mm.
we all got together. We created this sign language course, which is being run in India right now. So there were a lot
Wow.
of changes. Yeah, so we did all that. Then in between, I had to shift my career. My tea is here, not coffee. My tea is here,
That's great. That's great.
and yeah, so it's my dad.
Hi. Hi.
Happy to meet all of you.
Happy to meet you the same.
Yeah, so that's how my work started. In between, I had to leave the field because I was out of India for some time, and then I came back. Initially, I was a software professional. I was a software engineer, so I had to
Mm.
shift from that and come into the sign language interpreting and so many things we did. And when I came back to India, I was involved in sign language research with one of the research institute in India, a central government institute. And then that's how. And right now, I've set up my own startup, which is called Let's Sign. So Let's Sign. This is
Let's
sign. Let's my
let's
business.
sign.
Let's Sign.
Wow.
So
So good.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
So that's what. So through this startup, I provide various services. Sign language interpreting is one, and I do a lot of research work with some of the universities in creating, sign language recognition systems, things like that. And then we do a lot of event managements for different deaf associations, and I'm currently connected with the Youth Association of the Deaf in India. So, and I've also, like do a little work for the All India Federation of the Deaf. So, a lot of things we do. So it's very the range of activities that we are doing right now. And another important and very interesting thing is that we do a lot of expeditions, tours, trekkings. We are
Mm.
organize all that for local, national, and international deaf people. So whoever is interested, they can contact us, and we will do something for them. So it's a whole range of activities that we are doing, a whole range of services. So it's just not one particular thing. So I just have my hands in everything, like.
Yeah, that's
So
really
that's how it
wonderful,
is.
And I really like when you mentioned that it's because of your father's active involvement in the deaf community that made you actually be part of it and start your career in sign language research, interpreting, training. Oh, not really, not really. So
There's a
well,
twist here, like the thing is. I was not interested in coming into this field at all initially. My younger sister is the one who is more involved with the community, but I
oh,
was more or less, in my teenage days and my younger days, I was very, very off this field. I wanted to be out of this field. I wanted to be a lot of things. I was a model. I was doing modeling. I was doing a lot of other things, like in my younger days. So I wasn't very interested in coming into this field and all that. So it just happened by chance, like the whole turnover just happened by chance. And when this happened, it was in a conference, a huge conference, which was held down south in India. And during the conference, my father was there and he invited me, and I didn't want to go, but he forced me to go. So when I went there, then they asked me to be on stage to interpret, like because some of the interpreters weren't good, so they wanted me to interpret. And that was my first, like official sign interpreting assignment as such, because I didn't even know that I was supposed to interpret. I went there just to enjoy the program. So when I interpreted, the people, deaf people, they felt that, like they came back and told me that my signing is really very good and they are able to understand everything very clearly and things like that. So that motivated me. That gave me a lot of encouragement. Like then I was thinking. Then my dad was talking to me, and like our daughters offered to work with them, and there was a lot of things happening at that point of time. So that was the time when I decided, okay, let me try shift my field, go into this, and see what can be done. Because what my dad told me was there's not a lot of people working in this field, so we need very good people, and you really good in this, so why don't you try your hand in this? And if it
I
doesn't work, you
see.
can always get back to software, like, it's your
Yeah,
not an issue. I said, okay. But when I got into it, I got so involved with the deaf community. The deaf community loved me. I also love the deaf community. And it's not just a local one, like it's nationally, all over India. So we had to visit a lot of associations, deaf associations, and meet a lot of deaf people. So while doing this, it was like, I felt that it was my calling. So there's nothing else what I want to do right now. So my
wow.
computer science and my software background is all long back. So this is what I do right now.
That's wonderful,
I
Amaresh.
love doing this. Yeah, like you have to love doing what you're, like you have to the work that you do, you have to love it. It should be a passion, like so. This is my passion. This be my passion to, do a lot of things and bring in new things for the deaf people, keep them excited, keep them on their toes. Like a lot of learning is needed. So this is
And we
what
can
I.
actually feel your passion
Yeah.
with everything that you have shared
For
right
20
now.
years.
And Amaresh, we're really excited for this conversation, and we're hoping to hear more of your stories later on
Sure.
with our other guests. But we also have a pic of your family. can we just at least show your family, with your parents? That's they're there.
There.
So that's Amaresh with his parents to all our guests. And that's really wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much,
Amaresh. We'll
Amaresh.
just sit back, enjoy your tea, and we'll get back to you later in a bit. Thank you so much, Amaresh.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
All right. Wow.
Wow, Jo.
That's he has so many experiences in the field. And I
Yes.
remember him saying that he was asked to interpret for a conference because he's just there. So
Sometimes
yeah, sometimes yeah,
there are instances that we are invited.
right, right.
Okay. So I think now we are now on our third guest. Okay. Our next guest is from Korea, but she is currently living in Dumaguete. She graduated her bachelor's degree in mass communication in Suleiman University here in the Philippines. Former vice president of DEFIN, a sign language interpreter in international events, of course, in Korean Sign Language interpreting, and a Korean Sign Language advocate producing KSL video books, social awareness contents, and KSL goods. Friends, let us welcome Yoon Ji Yoon. 안녕하세요, Yoon Ji Yoon. Ji Elino Marga
안녕하세요.
Emeda. Maayong
안녕하세요.
adlaw sa imong tanan. Dili ako makasabot ng Bisaya, gamay lang.
Ako po just gamay lang.
Gamay lang. How are
Okay.
you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Actually, we have good weather today, so mhm.
Wow, have we already eaten your breakfast?
I don't usually eat my breakfast, so I might have lunch later.
So before we start, can you please introduce yourself? What is your sign name? And say hello to our viewers, maybe your friends who are also watching from Dumaguete, or your family who are also watching in Korea.
Okay. Hello. My name is Yoon Chi Yan. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And my
Yes.
sign name is Xia. Yeah, I don't really know about American Sign Language, so I think this is my best.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
Thank you. G,
Yes.
can we call you G?
Yes, my friends actually call me just G.
G.
Okay. G.
Yeah, Filipino
Okay,
friends, they call
G.
me G. Yeah.
G, before we start, I'm a fan of K dramas. I influence my family to watch K drama series in Netflix. No, he's
Okay.
already watching.
All
So,
right.
can you please teach us, G, how to sign Anyong in KSL?
And yeah, we don't really have because like in Korean language, we have like respect words and then also not. So 안녕, we don't usually have sign language for that, but like official 안녕하세요, officially we do have sign
안녕하세요.
language. Yeah, we do that. So 안녕 just when they met just yeah.
Anyong?
But
안녕.
안녕하세요 has a different sign language for that.
So, how are you going to sign 안녕하세요? 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. So,
So
안녕하세요 to our viewers.
yes, 안녕하세요. You should have the eye contact.
Okay.
Oh, 안녕하세요.
Yes, because we do bow. Koreans do bow when they meet first time. Like 안녕하세요. That's right. We don't like for the Koreans who learn first time for 안녕하세요. They don't look at the eyes. Wow, we don't look at
learning.
each other. But in sign language and for deaf community, it's really important to look at the face and
Yes,
the
true.
sign language at the same time. So,
How are you going to say 예쁘다?
예쁘다?
예쁘다. 예쁘다. 예쁘다.
That's
예쁘다 means pretty, right?
pretty,
Or
and this
pretty.
is beautiful.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. G, you are 예쁘다.
Thank you.
So, G,
Marga,
can you
you also
share
pretty
us?
too.
Thank you.
And Jojo
G,
is
can you
handsome.
share with
Oh,
us
thank you.
your experiences growing up with deaf parents?
I think
Or how was it like,
uh,
especially in Korea?
my story is quite similar to the one from Malaysia. What was her name? It's
Go.
her.
Go.
Yeah, go. Yeah, I think it's quite similar. Like when I was young, because my parents are only deaf in our family, so like I don't really have experience with being deaf, and then no one was telling me that like they're just different. So like when I was young, I was a bit shy of them. Like I didn't want to go out with them, and then I didn't want them to be hurt. And then I'm also a
Mhm.
very shy person, so I didn't want to make any troubles. So that like whenever they go to school because of my problems, they don't need to say sorry. So I didn't want to make any troubles
Mm.
and problems, and then I don't want them. I don't want my schoolmates. It's okay with close friends. I talk to my close friends that my parents are deaf, but like schoolmates or classmates who are
Mm.
not really close to me, I didn't want them to know that my parents are deaf because they might, make some gossip in school,
Mm.
and then they mix up some stories about my parents and then about me. So I didn't really want that. So I
Mm-hmm.
grew
Mm.
up like until middle school, I think I was quite shy about my parents and I didn't want to go out with them also. But like after high school, I knew about my brain. Like I knew that with my brain that I shouldn't be shy about my parents because they did everything for me what I want to do. Really, even though they can't afford it, they will look for the way to do those things for me and my sister. So
Mm.
I knew that like high school, I shouldn't be shy about them and I should be proud of them. So whenever they met my friends, it should be just normal, just like I have to
Mm.
introduce them like they're my parents. Just if I don't take it like if I don't take it like how can I say, if I just introduce them just normal, they will just accept it, without any strange things. But I
Yes. Yeah.
think I was not that confident that time. And then after college, I came here to study. I think studying here in the Philippines really changed a lot my mindset. Because like in Korea, like the education environment is not really like make them to speak out in the classroom.
Mm.
But
Mm.
here in the Philippines, I have homework and then I have project that I really have to speak out and then present my presentation. That
Mm.
was really my first time to speak out about my opinion, and also through essay.
So your
It's
confidence
really,
were building up
yeah,
here.
yes, right, in the Philippines. Like after I study here, and then of course, mass comm, we had a lot of things to write, and then how to
Yes,
speak.
true. You mentioned that you graduated mass communication, right? So, is there
Right.
anything that you are currently doing for the deaf community that is
Uh,
related to your course?
After I graduated, I went back to Korea, and then
Mhm.
I didn't have any idea that I'll be working on like related with sign language or deaf community.
Mhm.
I didn't really expect that, and then I didn't also want to, and then my parents also not really recommended about working in those fields because they know how hard it is, and I also know it was quite tough for me when I was growing up. So
Mhm.
I didn't want. It's enough for me just having deaf parents, but not as my work.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
so that
Same.
was that was what I was thinking. So I had another job for 1 year after I graduated.
Mm-mm.
And after 1 year, there was a chance that I could have a job in social enterprise. because it
Mhm.
was quite interesting for me. It triggered me of like how the perspectives of their business, because like usually like deaf or sign language, when people are thinking about those field and people and the language in Korea, their perspectives are usually like social welfare, or they have to help, they need help. But I didn't like those ideas, but the company that they had idea is they just look at sign language as just one of the languages. Like that's why like in Korea we have very the English is very high market. People
Mhm.
are buying, people are paying to learn, you
Mhm.
know,
English.
English or
Mm.
Japanese, other languages, right? But
Yeah.
why can't it be for sign language? Why can't we sell it? Why can't we make it as a business like English or other languages?
Mm-mm.
But the company that I was searching, they had those perspectives. So I was very interested how they built up their business, even though it was
Mm-mm.
just startup company and social enterprise. I didn't know about the concept of social enterprise, and then so okay, it's very interested. They have different perspectives, and it's very close to my house as well. It's just walking distance that time.
It's very convenient for you.
Yes, right. So
Accessible.
yes, maybe once in my life, I can try. I can try to work, something related to the field. Then before that, I never have any idea about like more uh, just sign language and deaf community, meaning just my parents. That's it for me
Mhm.
that time. But after I worked in deaf in, I knew more about deaf people,
Mm-mm.
and also I could find about Coda identity. That time I knew, first time to know about Coda things. My deaf coworker was telling me, you know that you're Coda. Oh, what? I? How come? There is a term for for us, like there is a term for like people, for us. So it was very shocked, actually. I was very shocked. And then after that I knew that there was like Koda Korea gathering in Korea that
Oh.
time. It was just emerged, and then I had a chance to meet them also. I was
Mm-mm.
really shocked that time. It really changed a lot. Like that's why I was
Change
able
your
to,
life a lot.
and then find
Mhm.
out that it's not like, I was growing up not only for Korean culture, but
Mm-mm.
also Korean deaf culture. So multicultural. I
Mm-mm.
was growing up. Maybe
Mm-mm.
that's why it was easy for me to accept the cultures in the Philippines while living here.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yes.
So,
So,
G, maybe we can also show your family picture. Your
yes.
family picture is also here. There. So, G, last question. What made you stay here in the Philippines? Why are you here in the Philippines? Just a short one, a brief
Actually,
one.
that was my wedding photos with my family.
Yes.
I had a wedding here in Dumaguete because I married to a Filipino.
Wow.
Wow.
I
You
didn't
found
expect
your
that.
the one here in the Philippines. So
I didn't
thank
expect
you,
to marry
G.
to a
Thank you
Filipino.
very
Yes.
much. Thank
Yes.
you very much for sharing your journey with us. So please
Mhm.
stay on the line, okay? We will be having more of these questions later. So
Okay.
and with the rest of the guests, okay? So we'll get back to you in a bit. See you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
So I think that's really wonderful, no? That's
Mm-mm.
how she graduating from college,
Mm-mm.
and
True.
then when she came back to Korea, she found this organization that led her to be involved
True.
in sign language.
Eventually she found also already the group wherein the group of coders in Korea, right?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And just check in with our viewers right now. Currently, we have 70 viewers watching with
Wow.
us.
Hello, everyone.
Wow,
Thank
hi guys,
you.
thank you. Let's just read some comments here from Karen Peach. Hi G, I'd love to meet you in Dumaguete soon when I get home there after this pandemic. So
Mm-mm.
I hope Karen and G will
We'll
meet
be able
there.
to
Let
meet
us know if you'll meet.
and we'll fly to Dumaguete.
Also watching from Paranaque, Mark
Hi,
Alvarez.
Mark.
Hi Mark.
Hello. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you. Watching from Bataan, Emily.
Wow. Hi, Emily.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
tuning with
much.
us. Watching from Mindanao, Northern Mindanao. Hi Farah.
Farah. Hello. Hi.
Thank you so much, guys. And guys, we're now down to our last guest, but he is not something that we expect to be the least of our
Yes.
guests. He is also a coda, and actually, Ate, I met him once in
Mm-mm.
my trips to Texas,
Mm-mm.
and we never had this opportunity to have this kind of conversation then. And I'm really excited to have this conversation now. He has been interpreting for more than 35 years.
Wow. The other
And
one was 20 years and this one is 35 years.
exactly.
Wow.
And this guy has dual certification from the Registry of Interpreters of the Deaf in the United States. He's a certified interpreter and a certified trainer. And he has a Master's of Science degree in special education. Currently, Bill, as what most people call him, Bill is the curriculum development specialist at Deaf Bible Society, developing trainings and resources for individuals working in sign language Bible translation. Prior to coming to Deaf Bible Society, he was the program director of the Colstrom Interpreter Training Program at North Central University at Minnesota. So, my dear friends, let us give a warm, deaf applause all the way from the United States of America, William Ross III.
Good evening, William.
Good evening,
Hi,
Bill.
everybody.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you guys?
We're great. We're great. Thank you for
Good, good.
joining us. And I
My pleasure.
understand it's already past dinner time in your
Oh,
place.
yeah. It's at 10
What's
o'clock
the time
now. It's
there right
almost 10
now?
o'clock at night. Almost 10 o'clock.
Almost 10. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you already had your dinner.
Oh, I did.
And
I had a good dinner.
was it great?
Yeah, and then we went out for an ice cream. So that was even better.
Oh, that was great. You have ice creams after dinner. That's really great. So, Bill, what was your experience like growing up knowing your parents are deaf?
Well, my mom and dad were, when I was very young, they separated and things were not good. And I lived with my mother for a long time. And I remember we moved a lot because she had a lot of health problems. And so my mom being deaf to me was the least of the problems I was worried about. I was worried about her being alive, staying healthy. And as I got, 13, 14, 15, I think most kids want their parents to be like everybody else's parents. And my mom was different. She was deaf. And like when she would come and open the door and call us, she would scream. And my mom's voice was really different. It was like, wow, like thunder. And all my friends would stop and go, what was that? And I would go, just my mom. I'm going now. Bye. And because she would just scream. And then so we came up with a plan. I said, Mom, how about when my brother and I are out playing, you blow the whistle? So we bought her a whistle. And so she would blow the whistle. Problem was the whole neighborhood got the idea. I couldn't tell the whistles apart. So I had to have my brother, Russell, is that Mom's whistle or somebody else's whistle? And she goes, that's not Mom's. I don't know how we knew the difference. But my mom was a really devout believer. Like every morning before we left for school, we'd have a prayer circle at the door and she would pray for us. Every day before she start the car and we would drive off somewhere, she would pray. She would make us, like we'd be outside playing and she would call us in, come read your chapter of the Bible. And I'd be like looking for the shortest chapter. And she's like, that will not do. No, find a chapter, read the Bible. I was okay. And my devotional life that I have now as a Christian is because of my mother. She got up every day and prayed. I can remember coming home sometimes, she'd be weeping and I'd be like, what's wrong? And she'd go, I'm just praying for your sister. And I'm like, and you're crying? I didn't understand, but she really was close close to the Lord. She just had burdens. And so I remember one time we were on the bus and I was talking to her because we were sitting across and I was signing and she'd go, sign low, sign low. And I'm like, why? Just, we don't want people to look at us. And this was the time in the United States when some of the movies about Love is Never Silent and things like that had just come out. And so people were like staring at deaf people. And my mom was like, I am not a zoo animal. Don't stare at me. So she didn't like that. And I didn't realize how, like, to me, signing was as normal as talking. But when I was younger, I signed terrible. I mean, I was terrible. Like, I'm going outside to play. And my mother would go, again? Like, and I'd sign Lord backwards. So it was like this. I'd start at my hip and come up here. And my mother was like, don't sign. Just move your lips. I'll read your lips. It was terrible. But then I moved to live with my father. And my father was very different than my mother. She was very, you have to sign everything. Don't talk in front of me, sign. So I could never talk with my brother. We'd be like, sign. So everybody was signing. And my father, at my 14th birthday, has a friend over. And she walks up to me and she doesn't know who I am because, I just moved back to live with my dad. And she signs to me, where's your dad? And so I sign. I explain to him where she is. So she starts to walk away and she turns around and she goes, are you deaf? And I said, no. But that moment, I was like, she thought I was deaf. I could ask for a deaf person.
Stay with us.
I know. And so I was like, she asked if I was deaf. And I went crazy after that. My father, when I was 17, 18, before I graduated high school, you should become an interpreter. You should become an interpreter. You should become an interpreter. And I'm like, why would I want to be an interpreter? It's good money. And I'm like, I don't know about this. So I ended up applying for an interpreting job at a high school just because I couldn't find work. I was like, can't find a job. So I was an interpreter in an educational system for a year. And then I went on and I just kept going. I just kept interpreting and kept interpreting and kept interpreting.
Wow.
And got nationally certified. Somewhere along that journey, I pastored a deaf church for 5 years. And then I pastored another deaf church for 3 years. I've been involved in deaf ministry for years. I've interpreted at churches. It became more and more important to me as I saw more people become frustrated with not having access. Like, there's a saying that I say often, deafness is not the inability to hear sound. It's the lack of access. Deafness is about access. If they can get the information, they can live a normal life. The problem is that they can't get the information. And so, and not just about like the world around them, but spiritual things, about communication with their family, about like in my family, my brother, he's also an interpreter. He's a legal interpreter in Boston. And my sister was an interpreter for a few years. And then she said, I'm done with that. She left, but she was an interpreter for a few years. And so my brother's wife is an interpreter. Interpreting is really prevalent in my family. My son is also a sign language interpreter, nationally certified interpreter. My daughter graduated with a degree in interpreting. She can interpret, but she wants to write. She's an amazing writer. So this just, sign language is very much part of our world. Being that I work at Deaf Bible Society and we work on translation, I was in Israel and I was in Africa teaching deaf people how to translate scripture. And it's when you go there that you learn. I'm teaching them, but really in real life, they're teaching me. They have so much to offer. The deaf community is just an amazing place.
And Bill, you mentioned about the lack of access for the deaf community. And one thing that we have really a problem right now is having resources for them. And I think that's why God has placed you in Deaf Bible Society right now as a curriculum development specialist. Can you share more on what you do with Deaf Bible Society?
I'll be really honest with you. What I do bores most people. I won't lie, because I find curriculum fascinating. Because when you're developing curriculum, the first thing is you want to know what they're going to learn. So you have to develop your teaching based on what they're going to learn. So everything that we do, like we have something called Josiah School of Translation. And in this program, we bring in 4 people from translation projects all over the world. So last year, we brought in 5 teams, 3 from Africa and 2 from South America. So we had a total of 20 people there. And we're, when you've got 3 African teams and 2 South American teams, none of us sign the same thing. But what we do is we work together long enough that we develop what's called an ad hoc language. And so I'm responsible to oversee the courses that are developed to make sure that they have outcomes, they have a course description, and they have activities, which are basically assignments that affirm that these outcomes are met. So that's what I do. I check the curriculum for all of our programs. There's also a component of our program where we're developing training to teach consultants. Consultants are people who, as a sign language translation is made, they check it to make sure that it's accurate. Okay, so they're like the person that goes, check, pass. Well, we develop curriculum to train people who are deaf to become consultants. It's a really extensive long-term project. It's moving very slow because it's such a global project, but I'm part of that. Curriculum is, I love teaching. Sometimes I miss teaching more than I love developing curriculum, but you can't have it all.
That's great. That's great, Bill. Thank you. That's really wonderful, and we love to hear more of your stories later with the rest of our guests. And it's just has been really great, a great time to have this conversation with you. And we'll have more questions for you later. Don't you worry. But we want you to sit back and relax and stay on the line, and we will get back to you in a bit. Thank you so much,
Thank
Bill.
you, Bill.
Thank you. So, Ate, that was really wonderful stuff.
Yes.
I
Wow.
mean, that's really amazing.
Coders in the different fields
Exactly.
across the nation. No?
Yes, across the globe. So, Ate, let us check in first with our viewers right
Yes.
now. We thank you so much for the 80 viewers that is watching currently
Wow.
live.
Hello,
Thank
hello,
you so much.
everyone.
We are sure you're very excited to have this discussion with our guests, but you want to actually read some of the comments. We have one from Cedar, Koda Smith.
Hi,
Hi,
Coda.
Cedar.
Hi, Cedar.
We love hearing your stories. It's the same. We would like to hear your stories as well, Cedar, in the
Yes.
future, if that's possible. And we also have other comments from our dear friends, from Marco Villarico, watching from Bulacan. Thank you so much for
Hi,
tuning in with us.
Marco.
Hi, Marco. And we also have others who are joining in with us. Thank you so much for joining with us. And for those 82 viewers right now, we're currently 82 viewers. Let's play just a game to break the ice for a bit. This game is called Sign Yes or No. I'll be signing a few words, say for example, a bridge. And I will just ask the viewers to answer or to comment if it's a sign for a bridge. If it's a sign for a bridge, then you type in yes. If it's not, then say no or comment no. And then we will give the viewers 5 or 10 seconds to answer, type in their comments, and then we will reveal the answer. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. How about you guys? Are you all ready? I think it's yes.
So, I guess we're all ready. So, here's the
Okay.
first one. All right, let me sign this. Walking. Is this the sign for walking? Yes or no? Walking. Yes or no? Let's have 10 seconds there. To 10. Okay. Basically, our answer is it's a yes. It's a sign for you walking. All right, all right. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, the next one is camera. Camera. Is this the sign for camera?
Camera. Is that the sign for camera? Yes or no? You have 10
Camera.
seconds. 10 seconds on the clock. All right. So I guess many of our friends answered yes. And of course, the answer is
is
yes. All
yes.
right, that's the answer. Okay, next one. Let's go move on to the next one. Is this sign for walking? Walking, yes or no? You have 10 seconds. All right. So, guys, the answer is no.
No.
So maybe some of
No.
our audience are
Huh?
wondering why
Joe,
the answer
that
is
is
no.
walking.
I know, but we'll get to the reason later. Let's move on to our last one.
Okay.
Let's move on to our last one.
Last
Um,
one
is this the sign for camera? Yes
camera.
or no? All right. And the answer is no.
No.
All
No.
right.
Joe, what is this game all about? Maybe our viewers are already confused.
Yes, yes. Well, I saw much of our viewers said yes.
Uh,
We have
there
some who
are.
said no. Okay, okay. Maybe they know the game. All right. Well, basically, this is actually a game popular in deaf conferences. Maybe some of you are wondering why the answer is no on some
Yeah.
signs and the answer is yes on some.
Mm-mm.
Well, basically, the answer is that you have to look at the hand shapes. So if the hand shape for both hands are the same, then the answer is yes. And if the hand shape for the hands or the hand shape is different, then the answer is no. So basically for camera, there's a different sign here than compared, I mean, the hand shape is different. So, and the hand shape for this one is the same. So that's a yes. So basically that's just a simple way to break the ice. And I think I just want to thank everyone for those who joined us in this game. So I guess we can actually now call back our guests. And
Yes.
while they're moving in for this part, Miss Casey will be interpreting for Ate and the female guest, and Sir Bai will be interpreting for me and our male guest.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our guest. It's great to have all of you here virtually. So let's start off our discussion. Okay, are you guys ready? Ready?
Yes.
Ready? All right. Our first question is for everyone. Okay, you can jump in if you want. Okay, so the first question is, what were the challenges and the barriers in the deaf community you saw your parents faced while you are growing up? Okay. What are the challenges or barriers in the deaf community you saw your parents faced growing up?
Maybe we
So,
can start with Ko. What are your thoughts?
Um, so I think I have to agree with Bill. When it comes to barriers or challenges, basically this comes down to communication. Um, when I was growing up, there's no such things as you can sign in the public. You know, people just like you look at you in such a very weird way that you're using your hands to communicate. It's just that
mm-mm.
people will like they will stare at you, even though as a coder I always sign with my friends, but they will stare at you because I think they find it amusing that you are signing instead of verbally communicating. But then it's a good thing because we started to sign in public and people are starting to accept that, and people are starting to contacting the organization and asking for signage classes. So things are moving slowly, but yeah, I think communication is the main challenge.
Thank you for
Thank
that,
you,
Go.
and I also agree.
Yeah, Amaresh, your thoughts. I mean, communication is really a barrier for the deaf community. Any other thoughts, Amaresh?
I agree completely. Communication is the basic problem that they have. So, which everyone knows about it. There's nothing to debate on that. But there's so many other challenges. Like because of that, education, employment, all these are challenges. Um, Main challenge that like I felt that when I what I felt looking at my parents growing up is that. I wish they were more educated, like they had more opportunities to learn, like to study more, to have better education facilities and things like that. Because I know that my parents are really smart. They are such wonderful people. They are kind of, like they can do so many things much better than other people. So I'm pretty sure of that. But the thing is, just because of the lack of education that they had, they're not able to, reach the full potential. Now, like my father is currently the secretary of the All India Federation of the Deaf. He is holding such a high position right now, and he's managing things. Like, if I just wish that if he had better education, he would have been somebody else. Like completely somebody else. Like in a different field, doing different things, with his mind working and the kind of unique nature.
So sorry, I think we lost Amaresh a bit,
Mm-mm.
but
Okay.
well, that's what happens when you have live. So
Can I
well,
make a
what
comment?
Amaresh is sure,
Sure.
Bill, go
Uh,
ahead.
my mother was the first deaf person to be employed by Motorola. They made a big deal about it. It was in the newspaper. Um, are you back?
Is that
Am I back?
Amaresh?
You're
Can
back.
anyone
Yes,
hear
right.
me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you know,
Okay,
finish your
okay, great.
story. I was
It just
adding
went
on
off.
while you
I
were
don't know why.
gone.
Sorry.
Great, Amaresh.
I
Continue,
was
continue.
adding on while you were gone, so I was telling about my mother being the first deaf person to work at Motorola. But finish
Yeah.
your story. I'm very interested in hearing what happened to your dad. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Just education is a major hurdle that they're facing. If they had that, if the education system was proper, if sign language was recognized, and it's being taught everywhere, it's being used everywhere, then communication, of course, but education, employment, so many other things. Like going to the doctor, getting them, getting themselves treated, explaining to the doctor what the problem is, and so many other things. Day-to-day life is a challenge for them. Like somebody comes to the door, a salesperson comes to the door, they don't know who he is, what he's selling. They're not able to communicate with them. So each and every day it's a challenge for them. Going to work, coming back from work. My mother was running a small business at that point of time, communicating with the customers, and so many challenges. But that's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of the deaf world. Like there's so many challenges, and it's still moving ahead. It's really inspirational. It's such an inspiration to watch them, to be with them. Yeah.
Thank you, Amaresh. Bill, would you like to continue your story?
Yeah, my mother, like I said, she was a very, very smart woman. Like she would write letters to me, and there was no mistakes in her English. And I remember how different it was for her. She just was a very bright lady, and so she didn't have problems finding work. But I've met a lot of deaf people that changing jobs is a really big deal to them because it's not easy to find another job where they can have access. So, because a lot of companies are like, well, if I remember when I was a kid, my mother would keep me out of school to take me to the doctor to interpret for her. That doesn't have to happen today. Well, I know in a lot of places it still does, but the reality is the world's changing. It's getting better for deaf people. I think that I think if we have our own family members and we struggle to accept them when we're young, how much harder it is for people who don't understand deaf people. So
I agree.
sometimes it's important for us to, because I will admit, I lose my patience with people who can hear because I'm like, okay, deaf people have been around forever. Get over yourselves. I need to be a little more patient. Maybe it's my
Thank you
flaws.
for that, Bill. Thank you for that, and that's really something that
Mm-mm.
I
Something
mean,
to ponder on.
not just yeah, like what you said. Well, the world is changing,
Mm-mm.
and we have experienced the same thing. How about you, G? What are your takes on this?
I really agree about what you guys are saying, and yeah, communication, and also I think it's what Will said a while ago. The information, how they get the information, because like for deaf, they're the one who has to really look for the information to live in the society. But for us, while you're sitting on the subway or public transportation, you can just hear even though you don't want. The information is just coming in, even though I'm not doing anything. But for deaf parents, for deaf people, they should be the one who really look for the information that they need. That's really difficult for them. And then, in the middle of the hearing society, and then my deaf parents, like being my parents' personal interpreter is quite tough for me, because like whenever there is nothing goes like in a good way, sometimes they will blame me on me. Like,
Yeah.
you should interpret it right way. Like, they will angry at you,
Yes.
not at them. It's actually their fault. And so I think that's also like, as a coda, or maybe as sign language and interpreter as well, it's also quite challenge for them to how to deal between the hearing people and deaf people. And then, like, make it better. I think the society has to change a bit, like how they think. Like hearing people, like whenever they see me like doing sign language, they will get interested, like, oh, what are you saying about, like, that, what are you saying about? And then they will always ask that, oh, sign language is all same all over the world? Of course not. Like, when we think about like how we speak, it's all different, right? But if they think the sign language as a language, oh, how can it be same? Because we are living in different places and different cultures. Yeah, maybe some terms can be say like similar, but you know, it's so obvious that they are not thinking just a bit more. So maybe if the society would think just a bit more, then I'm sure that the our society can be changed a bit better for the deaf people, and then also
Yes,
go for
yes.
hearing people.
Thank you, G. It's really wonderful. I
Mm-mm.
mean, really, communication has been a barrier for them ever
Yes.
since, and as what you guys has said, it leads to many other challenges
Mm-mm.
into
Like, for example,
systems.
the job access, the employment access for the deaf, especially here in the Philippines.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you.
Well,
Can I ask a
actually,
question?
sure.
I
Go
have a
ahead. Go
question
ahead.
because I don't. I'm asking the other coders in this question because um, I grew up in a time where I was raised by my mom primarily, and I spent a lot of time at home with my mother. So I learned a lot about the deaf culture was very much part of my life. And then I went and lived with both my father and my stepmother, and so more and more of that became part of who I was. So when I went out into the world of people who could hear, I tended to act like people who were deaf. Like, so to get someone's attention, I would wave my hand instead of call their name, or I would walk up to them and tap them on the shoulder instead of call their name. And so I would do all of these things that deaf people did, to the point where people would say, "You act funny," and I would go, "What do you mean I act funny?" And they're like, "Well, why don't you just call my name?" Well, because at home it doesn't work. I can't go, "Mom," it doesn't work. "Dad,"
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't work. So I had to go find them. So, do any of you guys struggle with having that bicultural element where people will notice that you act different besides me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We had that. Said same thing.
Same, same. In school, I remember when I recite in class, I do like this. I can't remove my mannerisms. Like, my classmates are saying, "What are you doing, Marga?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then they realized that because it was because of my parents.
Yeah.
So I do like this, and I usually call people like, and then they will tell me like,
You will not mention their name actually.
"Mm-mm."
I know, you
It's
just
like, just like
tapped
tap.
them.
Or it's like, and then they will, huh? Something like.
So,
How about the others? Do you have the same experience as
Yeah,
you are also
with
experiencing?
me, in India is very, very, what do you say, very, very they use gestures a lot. Even the hearing people use gestures a
Right.
lot. Like they're very uh,
Demonstrative.
expressive, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like well, probably I'm not sure how it is in America. And usually in Europe and European countries, they're not hearing people are not very expressive. You know, like they probably when they talk, they're very expressive, but not in their gestures and
Right.
body actions. So in India, it's very fluid. The kind they have the head wobble and everything, things like that. So I don't have that experience like what Will was saying, but the thing is, I do it on purpose. I do that on purpose. This is I need to be honest. When I go to the shop, when I go to the market and everything, if I want to bargain, then I would act like a Dutch person. He'll say something, and I say, I'm getting anything good. Tell me what the price is, and then I say, something like that. God, he can't hear what to do. Okay, fine, let's give it. Like those kind of advantages I have taken. Those things, like kind of things, I've done it on purpose. But like even if like habitually, if I do something, like I haven't had that kind of experience that Bill has had. In fact, yeah.
Oh, I've had so
Thank you,
many.
Thank you,
Amaresh.
Amaresh.
Wow.
I've
Wow.
lost count.
Maybe Jo.
Well, actually, the same thing. I mean, with Amaresh's experience, sometimes when I go to to other countries, I cannot speak their language. So basically, I'll just gesture out.
Yeah.
One time, I remember I was in Thailand, and I bought up. I think I bought some octopus, just for snacks, and then
Oh
she,
no.
and then the sellers just pointed out a green sauce or something like that, and I was like, okay. Then she put it on, and it was actually green chili,
Chili
and I
sauce.
was just sweating so hard. I had to find a milkshake in order to just adjust with the heat.
Your
Just
first problem was is that you ate an octopus. That was the first.
you know, that's
But it tastes
right.
very good, Bill. It
Yeah,
tastes
it was very good.
really good.
I have to try
Great,
it.
great. Well, guys, this is really amazing. And I was
Yes.
just looking at Amarish earlier and seeing him interpret in Indian Sign Language for his dad. That's really
Yes.
amazing. We have a lot of interpreters here right now. Thank
So in
you.
connection with that, Jo, when you talk about interpreters, maybe this is also the good time for us to ask this question. Has there been a extra layer of expectation from you being a coda to be in the interpreting field? Are the people are expecting you also to be in the interpreting field?
Because, basically there has been a romanticism about being codas in the interpreting community. People think codas makes the best interpreters because of their signing, but
Mhm.
it's actually hard for codas. I mean, you mentioned earlier about having that being stuck in having professional and personal values ethically. Can you guys comment on these stuff? How about G? You were actually going through this earlier when you mentioned about your parents. Can you comment more on this?
I'll go for after
Okay.
Amadeus.
How about Go or
Um,
Amaresh? Go.
well, we,
Go
we
ahead.
have different situation in Malaysia, basically because some of us do not really grow up in uh, deaf community in the sense that we do not attend deaf activities, we do not attend deaf events. So, like myself, I do not really grow up in that. So, I don't. There's no like say you have to interpret or but the stress or the pressure actually comes from other family members and say you are the eldest of the family, you have to assist your parents, you have to help your parents, it's your responsibility. So the pressure comes from that. But we also have codas who actually grew up in deaf events, with deaf organizations, activities and all that. Their parents will make them interpret, and when I see that, you can see the stress in their face that why am I doing this? So it's like why am I here? Why? It's like the stress is there, the pressure is there. So sometimes, like right now, I will tell the parents like, hey, we already have interpreting services in the country. Why not use them instead of using your children's? You can see, somehow the children like I don't want to follow them anymore. I don't want to go to the deaf organization anymore. And we do not want that to happen because coders are actually basically part of deaf community. No, we keep telling the parents, say like, it's okay, you don't have to use your children, but please go to the office, get the interpreters from there, they will assist you. But maybe some, if it's like a family affairs, like just dinner, or just a reunion within family members, it's fine, it's okay, but do not use them 100%. So there's two kind of a different situation here in Malaysia.
Mm.
Thank you about
Thank
that.
you.
Ko.
Thank you for sharing about the situation also in Malaysia. The differences, no? Thank you. Thank you, Go. How about Amaresh or
Bill?
Bill?
Well,
What's your take on this question?
Amaresh, go ahead.
All right. So this is my take. Okay, like when you interpret for your parents, it actually doesn't mean you're interpreting. You're mostly, like doing translation from one language to another. But interpreting is a professional field. Like if you're interested to get into interpreting, then you get into interpreting. If your family members or your family's friends or parents' friends, they ask you, okay, you come and do, like translate for me, that doesn't become interpreting. Like you have to be very clearly, you have to delineate like what is actual interpreting as a profession and just interpreting as, like this is your responsibility. So being a coder, having deaf parents, it becomes a kind of your responsibility. Like right from childhood, you're able to speak both the languages. You know both the languages, you're able to speak and you're able to sign. So it's natural that the deaf parents depend on people who know how to speak and sign. And because the kids are able to do that, they naturally depend on them to, like interpret and sign. So it's just not for deaf people. It also is good for other language people. For example, people who travel to other countries. Like if they face any difficulties in the language, if the sibling knows, how to speak in Russian, or how to speak in any other language, European language, if you're able to, French, for example, if I know French and my father doesn't know French and we travel to France, then I'll help him, like to translate what is being said. So that's a very different kind of thing. But if you're talking about the interpreting field as a profession itself, yes, many deaf parents expect that their child would become interpreters. But in India, they don't have the proper awareness of what the interpreting profession is actually. So most probably they would want their child to become interpreters. At the same time, they want their child to have a very good profession, earn very well, and be very educated and do that and do interpreting also. Like right now in India, this the interpreting situation profession is not like kind of very nice profession or something. It's still going to a lot of stages where we have to set this as a proper profession. And when you get into interpreting, sometimes you get a good job, you get good paid very well. Most of the times you don't get any assignments at all, and you don't get it paid at all. So it all depends. There's no proper structure right now in India. So there's always a confusion whether you want to become an interpreter or you actually have to get a good job and like settle and have a good family and things like that. So there are always two things. So that is my take. Like you shouldn't confuse, like if my parents are asking me to interpret for them, it doesn't become that I'm doing it as a profession. Like I'm doing this because it's my duty, it's my thing. But if you're doing it professionally for other people, yeah. So there has to be. That's what I think. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
Do you
Thank you,
mind if I add
Amaresh.
to
Great,
I
this?
like
Amaresh.
about what you said.
Can I add to that?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
There's
Yes.
there's an expectation in the deaf community in the U.S. I don't know about other places. There are a lot of deaf people who don't want coda interpreters. They recognize that coda interpreters may have more skill in their sign language skills or better receptive skills, which is usually the case. Our ability to read sign language is oftentimes better than our signing our ability, but that's not the point. But because we're part of the deaf community, or oftentimes in the deaf community, and we may not be actively Like, we may not go to all the events, but we're still part of it. Sometimes they fear that we will share that information. So there's some parts of the deaf community in the US, they don't want CODA interpreters. Whereas other parts of the deaf community, they prefer CODA interpreters because of their language proficiency. And not every CODA is an amazing signer. Like in my family, my father, my uncle, my aunt, my grandmother, there's a lot of deaf people in my family, okay? But of the 7 boys, like me and my brother, my cousins, we're the only 2 that are interpreters. And of the 7 of us, only 4 of us sign well. The other 3, not so much. So it all depends. So because I know a lot of CODAs that don't sign. They do the gesture. I'm going to go outside. I'll see you later.
Yes.
That it's like that kind of thing. And I don't judge them because they don't want to sign. They don't want to sign. Okay. But to me, signing is part of how I communicate with my mom and dad. If I can't sign, I can't have a really intense conversation. I remember talking to my mom about some of the things that I was going through as a teenage boy. And we were able to talk about it at a level that if you don't know sign language, you can't talk. It's just like parents who can hear don't talk to their deaf kids because they don't know sign language. How are you going to have a real conversation, with your heart? You're not going to be able to do that. So I thank God that my father pushed me to learn sign and sign well. He did not take sloppy signing. He's like, and I'm like, okay. I thank him to this day. I owe it to him.
And that's really wonderful, Bill. When we mentioned about having sign language as for CODAs as a mother tongue, but we actually refer to as heart language. And what you mentioned,
It's our
you're
heart
able to
language.
express it only to your parents, heart-to-heart talk with your parents through signs. That's really wonderful. Do you guys have anything more to add?
How about G?
Yeah, I agree
Yes.
to what you said.
G, go ahead, G. Go ahead, G.
Yeah.
Huh? So it's my turn.
Yes.
Yes. I think in Korean deaf community also has like quite similar expectation that CODA has to. Most of CODAs, like when they meet CODAs, like someone, their friends, daughters or son, they will always ask them like, what's your job? What do you do? They don't like, I'm like studying or I don't have job yet. I'm looking for, and just go for sign language interpreter because they're thinking that it's much easier for us to take as a job, and that it's also comfortable time to have interpreter who is CODAs because we understand much better than other just hearing people who's not growing up in deaf community and deaf family, and that we're more understandable. Before my parents, like as I mentioned a while ago, me and my sister are just like personal interpreters for them, sign language interpreters for them. Like I was so shocked after I worked in Deafin because there that time I worked with young deaf generation. Then whenever I sign them from my parents, it's from my parents. Some words are totally different. Like there are some new words emerge in new generation, new deaf. It was quite fast.
Yeah.
Like in hearing community, in hearing society, we also have like new words every day coming out, and that's why there's communication gap between like old and young generation, right? Also it was
Right.
also same in deaf I was so shocked, and then whenever I learned something new words, I go home and I talk to my parents. Do you know this word? Do you know this my language? And then they say, what's that? They also, what's that? Because my father has experience to teach sign language, like sign language in church before, so he must know. But whenever I sign to them, I don't understand you. I said, and then whenever I sign from my parents, I sign to my coworkers. What is that sign? Because like they're deaf who grow up in under deaf parents, but
Mhm.
also they're deaf who grow up as lip readers. They
Mm-mm.
don't
Sure.
they didn't learn sign. So there's some deaf who learn sign after they grow up. So
Mm-mm.
of course, like our signs are very different. And
Yeah.
also I met codas who can't sign. Like while I was working, I met some codas, but they can't sign. And then like when I met the head officer in deaf association, I there was one time that I had to meet them for business, and then my boss introduced me as Coda, but I don't really like to be introduced by Coda because I don't want them to have some, like some stereotype.
Expectation.
Yes, so pressure, because I know that I'm not that
Yes, the
good.
pressure is on.
Yeah, because I know that I'm not really good sign language interpreter. I'm good for my parents because we understand most of it because I grow up with them, and then we understand what I'm saying and then what they're saying. But whenever I met my parents' friends, I understand like 50 to 60%. It's too
Mhm.
fast for me. And there's some words I don't, because it's really deaf grammar, like the sign language
Oh
grammar.
yeah.
So like for me, what are they like? For me, I don't understand at all. So I have to ask my parents, what does it mean? So they will sign to me, like, which I will understand because they understand how I understand. So when I met those expectations, I hope that, like, I as a coda, I hope that the deaf community gives some more understanding for codas also and sign language interpreters, because when it comes to the sign language interpreters, the deaf will think that, like, there's no understanding for the interpreters and codas. So I wish they can think about a little bit more for codas, how they grow up and then what's their
Yeah.
difficulties, and then also respect them.
Mm-mm.
And then, and I know that it's quite difficult, but it should go all together: the education, the social system, the social awareness. I know that it has to go everything together. But what Will said a while ago, the world is changing a bit better and better. And then I could see also from the deaf community in Korea how the social system is changing, even though it's not perfect. We will, but someday we will get there, hopefully.
Thank you, G, for that. I mean, really, you can actually think about it that sign language is just the same as other languages.
Jo-
That um,
Wait, wait, wait.
sign language is the same as other languages.
Dapat di nila naririnig.
That it's dynamic,
All right.
right? It's dynamic.
You're frozen a little bit.
Us.
You were for
Yeah.
a second.
Okay, okay,
At
okay,
least
okay.
I think you were.
Okay,
Maybe I was frozen and I didn't know it.
okay,
I
okay.
was, I thought you were asking a question, so I wasn't very sure what was happening. Anyway,
Uh,
I agree with what everyone is saying. I would also like to add a small something else also. It also depends, like right now, what is the quality of interpreters that we have in the society right now. If the interpreters are very good, and there are a lot of interpreters who are available for the deaf community to, like to use, then probably, like the parents wouldn't expect their children to become interpreters or to interpret for them. Like if they already have the services available, then they wouldn't need to depend on the children and ask them to interpret, not for meetings and things like that. So probably that is one of the cases. And also here in India, we have this. We have a case, like we have two associations. So one is the Indian Sign Language Interpreters Association, and the other one is the Association of Sign Language Interpreters, right? So there are two interpreting associations. The Association of Sign Language Interpreters it is formed mainly by coders who know sign language, who are like interpreting for others. But the other second one, the Indian Sign Language Interpreters Association, it is formed by professional interpreters who are certified, who have undergone the courses and all that. But when you see these two associations, the kind of interpreters that the first one is ASLI, the Association of Sign Language Interpreters, they are coders. Their signing skill is much better. Whereas this association, which is a professional association, certified interpreters, many of the interpreters aren't that good, like because they are not coders. They're just certified. They have undergone the course and things like that. So it also depends on the situation. And these coder interpreters, they are not certified, but they're still interpreting. And there's a lot of political mileage which we are, which is happening right now, saying that they are not supposed to interpret in legal, like professional settings because they're not certified. A lot of things are there. So a lot of things are going on. So we all have to have a proper understanding about the, field as such, the interpreting field as such, and have proper lines to have a clarity on this.
Setting
That's what I
that boundary
proper boundaries.
between professional interpreting.
And
Yeah.
also with your
Thank
family.
you, Amaresh.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for that. That's really wonderful. This has been really a wonderful experience,
Yeah.
guys. And you know what? There's been a lot of inspiring messages for us in the comments section. Can we read some of our comments?
From Sedar.
From Sedar,
Hi,
she
Sedar.
said interpreting uh, in medical appointments as a kid.
Mm-mm.
I delivered my sibling at 12 years old because we wait before going to hospital for
Okay.
interpreter to get there.
There.
So that's an experience for
Holy
Sedar.
cow.
Accessibility for interpreters as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
That's one, like I started interpreting for my parents since, like I know sign language. And somebody comes home and knocks at the door and rings the bell. We have the flashlight on, and then we have to
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Right.
A parent come, one of my, mom and dad comes, and I'll have to interpret for him this what's happening. So it's pretty normal. The
Right.
doctor going
Right.
to the doctor. We have a family physician, so all this happens.
It's great. How about other comments? From Ember Parpa? She says, "Why this episode is making me
You
cry.
cry.
I am not a coda, but I grew up always hanging out with my
That's
deaf friends, and I somehow can relate with you guys. Thank you, Miss Ember."
Thank you, Miss
How
Ember.
about some other comments we have?
From Miss Joy. Sodas and Codas almost share the same experience. Like Miss E, sabi niya, Miss E, hugs. The difference in slang is that
They
they
didn't
didn't.
have a choice being born into a deaf family. With us, we took a
Mm-mm.
leap of faith and love by deciding to spend the rest of our lives with our partners.
Yes. Thank you,
Hugs to you, Miss
Miss.
Joy.
Love you, Miss.
Thank you.
Thank you for
From
sharing that.
MJ. MJ said, Kodas and Sodas, or siblings of deaf adults, are really close to our heart. And I
Mm-mm.
think most deaf people do the same, regardless if they are interpreters. It is because they're able to understand us and out through in and out through our language.
Language.
Thank you, MJ. From Mambet. Hi,
Hi,
Mambet.
Mambet.
Thank you so much to our visitors. I, as a wife and aunt of deaf persons, I learned many things from all of you, though I have been an interpreter and the wife of a deaf for so long. It's true that we need to have a heart despite of many challenges met. Thank you so much for the inspiration. Thank you also, Mambet, for your comments. And from Ate Ronnie,
Hi, Ate Ronnie.
yes, I agree with Yunji. Pressure
For
is too
sure
much.
is too
If
much.
people knew you are codas. Yes,
The shirt
that
on.
has been really true. From Miss Joyet, again, true warm hugs to everyone who is coda and a soda out there. So much respect and admiration for you. Thank you so much, Miss Joy.
Thank you, Miss Joy.
And other from Sedar. Jojo and Ann are great in moderating. Thank you, Sedar.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
I
much.
Sandra.
agree.
Thank you. So, guys, there has been a lot of things that we have discussed in this time, but unfortunately, our time is short,
Mm-mm.
and we
We
wish
hope.
to have more time with you guys. I think when you talk about Terp Talks having this kind of episode, I
Yeah.
think you need a whole day.
Right, right. We
Really
can
the best
overnight.
You need to spend overnight.
Yeah,
True.
But guys, before we end, can you guys give us a message for our fellow codas out there, those who are involved in interpreting, and even those who are not?
Yes.
And also, you might want to give a message for other interpreters who are not codas. How about we start
I
with?
want to say something really fast.
Okay,
Oh,
go
sure.
ahead, Bill.
I taught a workshop last year to a group of codas, and we all cried because that's how we are. But anyway, one of the things I learned is that there is a sense of rootlessness, meaning that we don't have the same roots that children who have hearing parents. Children who are hearing can have hearing parents. They share the same culture, the same language. Deaf parents who have deaf children have the same language, same culture, and they have the same. So they have their own communities. We share the culture and language of both hearing and deaf worlds, but we don't have a community where we can put our roots down. And so we have this sense of being unrooted. So we never get this sense of I belong here until we meet other codas.
Right.
And then we go, you get me. Oh, so we're the same. Even though we're different, we're the same. And you guys are in the Philippines, you're in the Korea, you're all over the world. And we have the same feeling of, oh, we get each other because our parents are deaf.
right.
And so I
Exactly.
think that's feeling of rootlessness. I mean, ironically, we do feel like we belong to the deaf world. We also feel like we belong to the world of hearing people. But both communities recognize that we're a little different than they are. So when I read that, I read it in an article. It really helped me. So for people who are codas and who, whether they're interpreters or not, sometimes that feeling of rootlessness goes away when you're around people who are like you. So, my
Thank
2
you.
cents.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bill.
We
I
found
completely
our.
agree with what Bill was saying.
Go ahead, Amrish. Go ahead.
I completely agree with what Bill was saying, like rootlessness. Yeah, the same thing I felt many years. Like, where do I belong? Do I belong here or do I belong here? People ask me, like, who's your best friend? Is your best friend a hearing person or a deaf person? It is a deaf person, obviously. I don't have any hearing friends at all. In fact, of course, I have acquaintances.
Same.
I know hearing people, but they are not my best friend. I have a deaf friend who I closely relate with and I can communicate with and all this. So things are there. So it's always kind of a dilemma, like whether you belong here or you belong here. Where do you actually go and where do you actually end up? So I just left it up, like what comes every day, just go with it. So go with the flow. But there's one thing I just want to share a small experience being a Coda interpreter. Like first thing I realized, like in my interpreting assignments, being a Coda and interpreting for my parents, there is no boundaries. You don't have any boundaries. Like for example, no professional boundaries. When you interpret and your father say something wrong, or he doesn't understand or misunderstand, I can just stop and I can explain it to him, and I can tell him, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is the right thing to do, and like you can advise or you can suggest, you can give ideas and things like that. So this you can do while you're interpreting in a very closed environment. But this used to be my way of interpreting, like when I grew up. And then when I shifted to actual professional interpreting, when I interpret and the deaf person is not able to understand or he gives a wayward answer or something, then I would, turn to him and say, no, don't do this, you have to do that. So I used to do that. At one point of time, I was caught, like I was, like the fingers pointed at me saying, you don't have to do that. You're not, like you're not involved in this. You're just an interpreter. So you just take, like you just have to interpret, do your work. That was the time I felt, oh, okay, did I do something wrong? And I am involved with the deaf community. I'm completely, like involved in that, swimming in the sea, in the deaf world. And I know what is happening and things like that. I know this is right. I know this is wrong. This is the best way to do it. This is not the good way, better way to go. But I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't, like express my personal feelings, doing this while very professionally. So this was the one experience that I learned. It was a big learning experience for me. Another thing, Pagodas generally respect sign language. Don't be ashamed of sign language. It's very, very beautiful language. It's completely complex, and like if you're able to sign, then you really become very smart because research has proved that um, more mind, the parts of the brain is activated when you actually use sign language. A lot of research has proved that, like, so respect sign language, use sign language, whether like whether you have to use it as a profession or not doesn't matter, but use sign language. And people who are coders or not sign language interpreters, this is what my message is. And for people who are interpreters or not coders, well, involve yourself more with the deaf community as much as possible. Like get to like immerse yourself in the deaf community because it's a completely different way. Like you have to understand. It's very difficult, even being a coder, being involved with deaf community for so many years. It's not very easy to understand their culture, psychology, and all. It's not very easy. I have so many hiccups, problems, and barriers. So many. Every day is a challenge for me working for them. So respect them, respect and give and take respect. That's my policy. That's what I want to tell everyone. That's my message. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Amaresh.
Amaresh.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
How about the others? I'm still trying to digest everything, but how
Yes.
about others? Go, G. Do you have any other message for other coders out there?
You, go
How about
first. Me?
Go? Go. How about you?
Me, I will go.
Okay. Okay, Z. Go ahead.
Uh, like currently I'm living in the Philippines, right? As Korean. Like there is so many challenges as foreigner actually. And after I got married, I have so many thoughts about my identity and my roots, like as Korean and as Koda. And my husband also, he's a Filipino, but he grew up. He spent his teenagers in UK and
Wow.
coming back here. Yeah, so he has actually his dual citizenship, British and Filipino. So he was also having hard time to find out his identity because like when he spent his college here, like Filipino will say, you're British?" And when he was in UK, "You're Filipino." It's same for me also, like as Coda. And I think that's why the culture thing is really important, and that's why I wanted to put all the cultures in my wedding because it's not just only one culture. There is Korean culture, Filipino culture, also British culture, and deaf culture. So there actually in my wedding there were three languages are going on. It was very tough for me to
Wow.
prepare
Wow.
actually. so English,
You're like in
yeah, English, Korean, and sign language. I had to ask my sister because I can't find someone else. And so
Okay.
like there were three languages are going on because I didn't want anyone to be out of the zone in my wedding, including my parents. So and the sign language was really important for me also, like as growing up as Coda and find my root. And now I know who I am. So like if I give birth, like for future my children, sure, I wanted to hand down those cultures. Actually, I'm really thinking of it. So maybe other out there, like some other codas. There are many codas who doesn't aware that they're codas and they don't have any idea that they're codas. I met a lot, and then whenever I met like the young codas, I don't know why I have something hard here that I want to tell them so many things, and that there are, you have to find out those things because I was really struggling when I was young. It's not because my parents' fault, because they don't know. But like for them, they made best to grow, raise me up, but they didn't know those information.
So it was quite tough for me to find out and then go those journey. And hopefully, like those from those chances, we could reach out more codas and then help out them to find their roots and identity. And after that, it will really change. Their life will change. Then the meaning will be changed. Yeah. So yeah,
Thank you.
I think
Thank
that's
you,
what I want to
G.
tell at last. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you,
you, G.
G. That's really
Yes.
meaningful.
Mm-mm.
Thank you so much. And lastly, go
How about Go?
your
Um,
message.
well, I think I have to agree with three previous coders. What they've been saying before this. I think it is very important that we have to share the same culture that we're in. It's just that we have to. It's like a third culture kick. We sometimes we say, oh, we are here, and sometimes we're here, and sometimes neither we are here nor here. We're in the middle, and we just that we have to find that identity that we have as coders. Because like Jim mentioned, some of us do not know that we are coders. Like me, I only when I reached 20s, only then I knew that I'm a coder. So it's a soul searching, identity searching for many of us. Where should we belong, or should we belong here or neither? So I think a lot of in Malaysia, especially, or probably in Asia, if I'm wrong, please correct me, is to 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 make an awareness about quotas, especially about that among their parents as well. That their children are quotas, they are part of the community. There are things that they would do, and there are things that they would not do for us. So like me, sometimes I don't do things for my parents because like there's times that when my father's like, hey, what's going on the news? No, what's going on? Oh no, it just no accident happened. Oh, that's it. But I do not feel like I wanted to interpret for my parents. But sometimes the confusion is there. So I think it's very important that for us to get that kind of like um a journey for us to get to know who we are from the beginning, and then yeah, probably we just move on from there.
Thank you so much,
Wow,
Go.
I love this community.
I really love this.
Yes, I
Wherein
completely
Having
agree. We
we
need
can
to have
share,
a proper journey,
can
right?
share
From the
our,
beginning.
yeah, true, journeying with each other, with our experiences, supporting each other, right?
this
Wow,
has been really wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. And
thank
guys,
you.
we would like to have this more time with you. So we'll set up another date with you guys virtually, and possibly in the future we'll see you in flesh.
Hopefully, we can visit India, Malaysia, and even
Uh,
US,
we
I
we are
don't
going
know.
to
You
have
don't want to
this
come to Texas.
international
Korea as
conference
well.
coming up soon.
Yes, international
Sorry, we are going to
conference.
have this international conference coming up soon. It's a World Federation of the Deaf conference, which will be organized in India. But it was supposed to be organized this year, but because of the pandemic, everything is cancelled and postponed.
Mm-mm, true.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so when we have this conference planned, so I'll invite all of you. Please do come.
Sure. We'll
Incredible
love
India,
it.
enjoy India, and I'll take care that you're all taken care of
Thank
properly.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm
Thank
taking you
you.
up on this.
Yes,
Thank
definitely do
you.
that.
All right,
And
guys.
all be safe
Thank
to
you
all
so much.
viewers.
So
Be
much.
safe.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Thank you
take
so
all
much.
your
Thank you.
precautions and
Thank
be
you.
safe. Yes.
This is not a goodbye, guys. But we will definitely
See
see
you
you
later.
again. See you later. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you. Bye bye. Love you
Bye
guys.
bye. Love you.
Bye.
Wow, that has been really
Wow,
wonderful.
Joe.
That's really wonderful. I mean,
Yes.
that's really something that even though we're different nationalities, we're from different
Mm-mm.
countries, there's really one thing would be common, and that's our code identity. And
Yes,
that's
I
really
agree.
powerful that we have things to find in common in our discussions.
True.
So, Ate, what's your takeaway from this?
You know, grabe. Maybe the learnings that I have learned with our fellow coders are the same, no?
Mhm.
Like for example, communication access. What else? There is a difference between interpreting and your responsibility as well with your family.
Right.
And what I like the most is finding our identity, no?
Finding our roots.
Yes, our roots with the Coda community.
Yes.
Sometimes, like what they mentioned, I don't know where. Am I going with the deaf community or I'm going with the hearing community? But wow, this is overwhelming, Joe.
It's so much to digest. But
Yes.
guys, we have to end. And right before we end, we would like to thank our viewers who has been watching with us all throughout. Thank you for all those who has been supporting this talk show. And guys, we will be bringing you more in the next weeks. We will have terps from other settings and healthcare access and legal setting and education setting. So guys, you don't want to miss those episodes.
Mhm.
And guys, thank you so much for watching. And we would like to read some comments right before we leave. We have this comment from Charlon.
Charlon.
He said, I know a lot of young coda here in our place, particularly in Jensen, and I love to start a group with the help of deaf community here and to start to
Wow.
teach them also sign language, especially those deaf parents or doesn't know sign language, and inspires me and motivates me to start a ministry for Coda. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Wow, thank
Charlon.
you, Charlon.
It's really something special for us to start the Coda
Yes.
community there.
You know what? That's our dream. Our
Yes.
dream in Coda Philippines, that we were able to connect with not only the Codas here in Metro Manila, but as well with the different parts, no, regions here in the Philippines,
Yes.
from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So I hope that we'll be able to connect with you.
Thank you, Charlon. Thank you so much. And actually, there's a question. Is there a global Coda association according to Maria Talents? Yes, there is.
Yes.
Cedar, I already answered that in the comment section. Thank you, Cedar. It's coda-international.org.
You can visit their website and you
Yes.
get to know more about the activities. Actually, Coda International inspired the Coda Philippines to build an
This organization.
organization to support also the Codas here in the Philippines. So we're looking forward. We're still a baby organization.
Yes, yes, definitely. But we're hoping to connect with everyone. And from Miss Joy, totally agree with what Amer said earlier. When it's about family, there are no boundaries.
True.
Yes,
True.
that's totally true. And according to Bill, when he said sense of rootlessness, Miss Joy
Mm-mm.
said, tight hug,
Tight
girls.
hugs.
You make
You
me
make
cry.
me cry.
Thank you, Miss Joy. Hugs to you as well. And from Ate Ronnie, good job, everyone. Deaf applause. Thank you so much. Love you all. Sulang Go, Yunji, Amaresh, Bill, Marga, Jojo, Bye, and Casey. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. And guys, as I said earlier, you don't want to miss our next episode. So we encourage
Yes.
you to catch us on our social media accounts. Guys, follow us on Facebook.
With a like.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Guys, we have our website, the www.philnasli.org, and we also have our Instagram accounts. We have our Twitter, and guys, we have our YouTube page. Check out our YouTube page.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to our YouTube page. And also, if you want to be a member, you can actually join us. Details are on the screen. You can be an active interpreter or individual member, or an ally advocate, ally member, or an institutional member. So, guys, the details are on the screen if you want to join us, the Philippine National Association of Sign Language Interpreters. And there's the link on the screen. If you want to be a member, just put on the link and let us know. Also, we in Pinasi, we all know that this Pinasi is a huge ally of the deaf community here in the Philippines, supporting them. But guys, we also need your support. So in the screen, you'll find our bank details. You have our bank is in BPI Family Savings Bank. The account name is Philippine National Association of Sign Language Interpreters Inc. with account number 5273-351673, or email us at info@philnasli.org. So guys, support the cause of Pinasli, and
Yes,
if you wish to
please do
donate,
support.
just check on our bank details. Also, we would like to invite you to tune in to the third episode of Deaf Discussion, Learning from Deaf Experts Advocating FSL. This is in partnership with our deaf friends from FSL Treasure. They will be featuring deaf comedians. So tune in this afternoon at 3 p.m. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for tuning in. So, Ate,
Yes.
do you have a hint of what our next episode will be like?
Oh, yes, of course. So our next episode is on August 22. We will be having conversations on sign language translations.
That's interesting. I want to know the difference between translation and
And interpreting.
interpreting. So, is there any difference between that? We'll probably find out next week.
Okay, I'm also looking forward for the 8th episode. Okay, I heard that Pinasli, like what Miss Nanti mentioned a while ago, that they also invited international guests as well. So don't forget to tune in next week.
So I think we're going global, really. This is going global. TerpTalks going global. And well, ate, I'm out of coffee. And I'm sure we really had some good conversations this morning. Thank you for over 80 viewers who has joined us. This is really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone. And thank you to our lovely interpreters, Sir Bai and Miss Casey. We appreciate you a lot. And the deaf community also appreciates you a lot as well. So once again, everyone, my name is Marga.
And I am Jojo.
And we are the Mahinan siblings, reminding you to stay safe,
stay at home, and always have a good cup of coffee on our conversations.
This is
Terp
TerpTalks,
Conversations with Sign Language Interpreters.
Bye!
Love you guys.
Love you! Bye!
Thank you.